Well, welcome to another edition of Throwing Down Some Hay. My name is Ajmal Binder, the chair of the board of Movement I'm All for Race Equity. And today we have YAH and Vic Larson, who are guests on Throwing Down Some Heavy Light. We invited them to talk about the encounter, how they got to know each other. Also, we want to focus a little bit more deals with anti-racism, race equity, and things like that, diversity. So we wanted to work on how we develop better race relations in institutions, organizations, and individuals. I must first offer a disclaimer. I'm suffering from addiction to popcorn. I think it's genetic because my son also has that addiction. And so when we don't do those little tiny bags in the microwave. We do the big pot on the stove, and whenever I cook, I have to cook half of it for him. But yeah, we take care of popcorn in a very serious manner and been that way for a long time. But again, I'm very happy we have these two guests here. And we're in Bellevue at Two Dads in a Bookstore, which is located at 1015 Galvin Road South. And again, this is taking place in December in terms of in our community. And by the way, this location is right across the street from Bellevue University. So first I want to start off by giving YAH and Vic a chance to share more about with the viewers who you are and how you came to deal with some things in life in general. So a little bit briefly who you are, and both of y'all give an introduction.
Okay, my name is YAH. I'm a writer, author, and executive director of the Heartland newspaper. And I'm also the author of Vic the Popcorn Bag. Vic the Man.
Yeah, never had a book written by me.
Well, you're a legend. You are the popcorn man. You are the king of popcorn, so. And a lot of people didn't even know it was a real Vic Larson until recently.
Good, very good. So,
well, I got to know YAH about this summer sometimes, a hot summer day. And I was going into our store out at Oakview Mall. And I was in a parking lot, and I saw him sitting over in the car eating some popcorn. And I figured, well, he must have been in our store. And I decided to go over and say, hey, thanks for stopping by our store. Appreciate that. And he had advertising on his car about what he does in with the newspaper and everything. And I kind of like that newspaper. I hate to say it's an underground newspaper, but it is quasi a little bit. They do some things that a lot of the normal newspapers don't do, and normal news reporting don't get into, and I personally, I kind of like that. I like to get into things a little bit and see what's going on. But anyway, I went over and just to say hi, introduce myself, and that's kind of how we got started, and kind of went from there. And gave him my card, and all of a sudden I get a call, and hey, well, let's meet and talk about some stuff. So that's essentially how it got started.
Now, one of the things is I think YAH off camera had shared with me that he went out once a month and bought popcorn from his store.
Yeah.
And that was this chance.
I didn't even know that. See, I don't work in the stores really.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of in and out and all that, and so I wasn't even aware that that he was doing that. But we like guys like him.
Yeah. I mean, I understand you spent some time. I'll switch up real quick. Time in prison and jail. How did that transpire, and what was those factors that led you to be in prison or jail?
Well, it was I was young, in my 20s, and it was a white-collar crime. And I wouldn't have went to prison for what I did. I basically went for it. They got me for ex-felon in possession of a firearm. And the thing is, I couldn't read or write too well back then. So I wasn't really an ex-felon. I had a gross misdemeanor, but I put my faith in the public defender they gave me because I couldn't read or write too well, so I believed in him, and he railroaded me, and he broke me into going to prison. So the first time I went to prison, I went because I couldn't read and write too well, but while I was in prison, I learned to read and write real well. So it's like if the catch-22 was ever a real live person, it would be me.
Right.
Because it was definitely like that. If I didn't know how to, I went to prison because I couldn't read and write, but I wouldn't have learned to read and write.
Had you not been to prison? As you mentioned that, I've met over the years in my work in social service a number of functional illiterates or people who don't read and write a level to function well, which is very important. Vic, Vic, I was going to ask you a question. You had shared with you that you were a school teacher, so on. How was it for you as a school teacher or administrator or whatever in the system? Did you ever see some of the literacy issues in our community with reading books or things like that?
Oh, sure. And you kind of see that all the time. And I've got to say something about reading. I'm a big one on that.
Okay.
You've got to. That's the main thing that kids got to learn how to do is read. Read and basic math. If you've got that, you can get along in life pretty well. And I've always emphasized that with our own kids growing up and our grandkids. I'm kind of funny about, that kind of stuff. That's number one is reading, and right next to it is basic math. Calculus is, that isn't something you got to have to get along in life, but basic math is really important. So anyway, I'm such a believer in that, and this is kind of going back to how we raised our kids. And if I ever heard them say on board, hey,
Go get a book.
Yeah, I tell you, or go climb trees. I don't care, but don't tell me. But we always had plenty of books in the house, and we did read to our kids. Well, and I got that from my mom. My mom read to us as we were growing up, and she was a teacher, and my grandma was a teacher. So, funny, I got to tell you this too, that we have a granddaughter that's a teacher. She's our 5th generation teacher in our family, because my grandma taught, my mom, I taught, our daughter's a teacher right now, and then her daughter, our granddaughter's a teacher, and I'm kind of proud of that. But anyway, back to the reading thing. It's just extraordinarily important to learn how to read early in life. And I don't care what you read. You can read comic. I grew up reading a lot of comic books. I love that. Superman, and that we're talking Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all that. But then I got into some regular books, and to this day I still read. And my wife is a good reader. She's a former English teacher.
Okay, so she's into reading now.
Oh yeah, she just reads, and our kids are good at reading and all that. So, but anyway, I just always have to emphasize that, how important that is. And I don't know if I really answered your question.
You did.
I kind of got off.
No, you did. I was going to follow, but one of the things that I know you've written these 2 books and so on, and you're into that. And one question I ask you is, how do you get people to learn directly from reading? And again, you tell your story of how you learned to read. And one question I also ask is, how do you teach yourself to read? I'm thinking you can only learn how to read by having a teacher or somebody else, but how does that work? Number one, how do you teach yourself to read if you don't read? And then number 2, what do you do to encourage other people to read, not only your books, but books in general, from your perspective?
First question, I taught myself when I went to prison. I was like I tell you this first, because when I went to prison, I was so mixed up. I can pinpoint the time that I started losing it and going to the streets and got mixed up. It was at the point when I got lost in life. It was right after my father died. And that's when I turned to the streets, and I was kind of lost. So therefore, then to put me in prison at such a young age, I was lost. So when I didn't understand some of the things that the guards was doing, I would retaliate in my own way. Like I would do things like, if they make me mad, I'd wait till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd flood my whole cell. Well, if I flood my cell, then I flood the whole floor of people below me in their cell. So you got 200-300 inmates.
You did a lot of negative stuff while you were, because we're acting out.
So I end up in the hole. They put me in the hole where I couldn't do any more damage or retaliate, because it was like just a war between me and them. I wasn't giving in, they weren't. So then down there, I wanted to write a book about how great my father was, and what he was in my life for just a short time before he died. I could actually remember the good. I remember in my life, but the real good times was like just 5 years, from the time I was 8 till 13 when he died, right? So I wanted to write a book, but I couldn't read or write too well. And this is actually the book
that you started writing in prison.
Yes. So
this is the actual papers.
This is actually
important information. They allow you to have papers and write books in prison.
Yeah.
What the time you're in? Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a different kind of
old school. It's pencil everything.
So, and so
that's good.
What I would do, I'll show you a page. Some of the words I couldn't spell was like couch. I couldn't spell phone, curve.
Wow.
peace like a piece of paper, Piece. If I remember this girl, I'd call her and I would ask her to tell me how to spell certain words. And I never will forget she told me how to spell pie. She said, you just say spell peace. She spelled pie and add CE. And that's the same way you spell niece and everything else.
So that was your evolution of how do you learn how to read and write.
Right.
That's
so
your process.
As I'm writing, and you see some of the words, I have to find one because if they didn't understand, if I couldn't spell it, I just put a line under it.
And then come back to it later.
Yeah, I asked her.
Now let me switch up a little bit because I want to kind of make sure we capture this. So even though you self-taught yourself, how do you encourage other people to learn how to read or do that? I mean, we understand the role that teachers play and educators play, but how do lay people help other people who have literacy problems or reading problems to do what you do?
Well, I would just I encourage people by telling them how I felt when I couldn't read.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
tell my story.
Okay,
I don't go too much into this. I go more until how I felt. And
Okay.
when I couldn't read, and like when my son first asked me the question, how did it feel if you couldn't read? How did it feel, Dad, being a grown man, you couldn't read? I said, son,
I can't imagine.
well, just imagine going through life
I
with
can't.
Vaseline in your eyes.
Good metaphor.
That's how it felt. That's how it felt. And I was young and I was naive, and I always thought that one of the main reasons why I didn't get a lot of respect when I was on the street, mainly from the white race, because maybe they knew I couldn't read, that I was
That was part of the deal.
Yeah, that I was illiterate.
Right.
So I thought when I was in prison, I learned how to read and write. Well, I would get that respect.
Right.
Respect.
And which is, it brings me to the point of that's what Malcolm X's claim to fame as he grew involved was his reading and dictionaries and so on. One thing that come to mind, I wanted to throw this out on the table, is that you got folks who have college degrees, PhDs who don't read after they read. They don't even bust a book open for anything. I mean, in other words, I'm not going to mention any names of a former school board president who says, I don't have time to read books. I'm like, how do you, as a school board president, make a statement in the newspaper? That's the case, you should lie. You know, you're the president of the board, and I'll give you a right to lie. But my point, or question I throw out is, how do you help people to disclose and be okay about not reading? Again, in other words, I've met people in community forums where they say I didn't bring my glasses, and you've probably heard that, but how do you get somebody not to be ashamed if you don't know how to read from your perspective?
Well, you got to just have compassion for people from where they are.
Okay.
And that's so important for coming from a teacher standpoint. You've got to take people from where they are and develop that interest. And find out what their interests are, and then you provide whatever access you can for them to pursue that interest, and then provide the level of reading material, and then work with them. It does take, you did it on your own, which is utterly amazing to me, but it would be so helpful, I would assume, if you would have had a tutor or somebody with you to help you along. Oh my gosh, yeah. And that's what I would like to see happen more. And I know, like in OPS, they do that. They do provide a lot of that. But it's always never enough, I'm sure. But that's so important. You got to have that level, and find out where they're interested in. And that's, it's just general nature that you want to learn more about what your interests are.
Right. I was going to ask you the question, is you went from a non-reader to writing a book and producing a newspaper. How does that work out for you? That's kind of like the dream or the magic wand stuff.
Yeah,
how does
amazing.
that work out? Because you don't go from 0 to 60 in that kind of time span. How's that working out for you?
And it took some years, but I got an obsessive personality.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I got mine on popcorn, but you got yours okay.
Everything I do, I'm just obsessed with it.
How did you start the newspaper? That's the thing I'm also fascinated with. How did that happen?
Well, it's a street paper, so I went to Denver, and they got the Denver Voice there. And I heard about this street paper that helped the homeless, give them a second chance. And I had two brothers that was homeless, and they sold papers for this paper called Denver Voice and got back on their feet. So when I went there to visit, I wanted to know about this paper, and I found out about it. And I said that would be so cool to bring it back to Omaha and start one here for the homeless. But when they told me the start, it would cost like $75,000
To start a newspaper?
To start that type of particular newspaper with the because it's with a program called the INSP, International Street Papers, and it's a big program. They got like 30 different street papers throughout the United States, and they're in every country.
You lost what's in between a street paper and a regular paper?
Well, the street paper can only be sold on the streets by the vendors.
Okay,
Which
gotcha.
So it's not subscriptions or...
Right.
Okay.
But since the pandemic, now we put it in the stores.
Okay.
But usually, the vendors are usually homeless or unemployed or socially excluded. And it gives them a second chance at life because they sell the paper and they keep what they
Gotcha.
need.
Very good.
So when I got here and I went to Attorney Chambers, I went to everybody. It was like, because I just thought I'm ready to start this non-profit organization. Everybody just give me money to start it. It's just gonna be like that.
Yeah, we all think like
it worked that
that. We
way.
all think like that.
So I just, one time I was just laying on the couch after I got turned down. I'm not going to come up with this money. And I was just laying on the couch and I said, you know what? I'm going to start the paper. So I wrote out the whole paper. I took it
By yourself?
by myself.
Wow.
I should have brought that first edition. I still got it. But I wrote it myself and downloaded a couple of ads and stuff. And it was when it came, well, what I did, I called it, after I wrote, I called the printing company, asked could they print it. They said, that's not how it worked. You got to get graphic designers. You gotta get
the whole
somebody to say,
thing.
yeah. You got to get a proofread. I said, I just thought that they did all that.
Right.
So then I was sitting in a coffee shop downtown, just minding my business. This lady came up, and she started talking to me, and I don't mind talk to everybody. You know? So she had a strange art of, she did drawings on the burlap coffee bags, but she had a daughter who just got out of college, and she told me her daughter might, cut a long story short, her daughter proofread the paper for me, edited.
That's how you got the first thing started.
Yeah, and then I ran into a guy, just got out of school, he was graphic designer. He did the first one for me free, and then a publishing company in Bellevue, I think they closed down now, they printed my first issue free. So I basically started the first paper with $13 in my pocket.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to switch up just a little bit here. And Victor, I want to ask you about your popcorn brand. I know we kind of jumped around a little bit because we only have so much time, but
Grab the paper
how do you develop the Vic Popcorn? Give us an overview of your evolution as a business person in the popcorn industry.
Yeah, and as an educator.
Say that again?
Yeah. Well, as an educator.
Okay,
You know,
that's
my
kind
profession.
of
You know, but actually in school, my undergraduate work, I did take business as a minor.
Okay.
So I took accounting and I took business practices and some of those kinds of courses. And I always had in the back of my mind, always wanted to start a business.
Okay.
And I like popcorn. I grew up in a family that we'd sit around on Sunday evenings in the winter. My mom would read a book and we'd pop popcorn, and those are great memories. So, but anyway, I just wanted to start a little business. I was finishing, I have a doctorate in education.
Okay.
And I was finishing my degree down in Lincoln. And I told my wife, there's a store down there, and I grew up in Lincoln. It's called the Corn Popper with a K, north of Capitol. And we'd stop there and get popcorn all the time. I was going to stop and just see if they'd want to open a store in Omaha. Stopped and, we've thought about it. And give me your name. Well, 2 weeks later, get a phone call. We think you're the guy. And you don't know, we found out your family, and we think you're the guy. So, to make a long story short, my wife and I met with them, and so they set us up in Omaha at no cost to us in a handshake.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we started it off, and we found a little place in the neighborhood over 50th and Leavenworth, opened up a little store, and January 2nd of 1980, so it'll be 44 years ago, we opened our little...
Is that old? I did not know that.
44 years ago.
Now, this may be a little invasive, but I'm not... What kind of volume or numbers do we talk about in the popcorn industry? I have no clue of any of this, except what I see in the store, but throw some numbers out at me about what we're talking value, worth, and what kind of bags or anything like that.
The first day we sold $17.34 worth. Okay. But, and we started making a profit by 3 weeks, or 3 months.
Okay.
But anyway, last year we went through about 100 tons of popcorn in just our little stores.
Wow.
100 tons.
Right here in Omaha.
Wow.
And see, we have a website, so we get orders. In fact, right now, that's why it's kind of late, where it's go time for us.
The holiday seasons.
Yeah, we ship out 200 to 400 every day.
Okay.
All over the country.
Wow.
From we call it the plant. We run 2 shifts out there, And but yeah, we go through about 100 tons of popcorn a year.
Now, I know this might be a little invasive because we're not supposed to tell our trade secrets and stuff, but I once, one of my neighbors from Minnesota gave me some popcorn right off the farm. And had me use coconut oil cooking.
Sure, you can use
and it was
coconut.
like day and night compared to regular popcorn off the shelf and sometimes old and stale. But what's your little secret
Well, there's
ingredients?
different
We Kentucky Fried Chicken here and proprietary rights, so I'm not telling your business.
No,
but
no, everybody-
are you using, I mean, what are we talking about in terms of your product?
Well, people that are, and we had people that have snuck in and see how we do things, and they've started their own stores.
Oh, really? After I
Oh,
referred
yeah.
you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know you have half salt. I'm aware of that.
Oh yeah, we have light, half salt, third less oil, and then half salt. But no, we use it's a class 1 corn.
Okay.
There are 3 classes of corn.
Okay.
And sometimes in a big grocery store, the big bags, that's a 2 or a 3 class. It's not the top. And ours is by far the best.
And we get, by the way, we get the corn from.
Well, it's in Nebraska grown.
Oh, Nebraska
And we're
grown.
the biggest popcorn growing state in the country.
I did not. I thought Minnesota was.
No.
That's where I got my first
No,
fresh popcorn.
Nebraska and then Indiana and Iowa.
did not know that.
Yeah. And
You heard it here first, folks.
yeah. But and then there's farmers that grow the hybrid that we use, and we use a white corn for
Okay.
our basic corn.
Okay.
And it's a lot more tender, and it has a better flavor to it, and a lot less holes
Okay.
than the yellow corn. Now movie theaters they use the yellow corn because it pops up a third more, and so
Okay.
you make more money.
Got you.
But we go for
We let down
quality.
all the secrets here, y'all.
We want the quality, and so the white corn is the gourmet of the popcorn.
Got it.
And we use a pure corn oil.
Okay.
That's what we use to pop it, and that's where we get our taste. And then
I never heard of that. Corn oil?
pure corn oil.
Okay.
And then we put flour salt in it, so when that kernel explodes, you get that full flavor of the
Okay.
salt.
Very
You don't
good.
put it on afterward.
Okay.
We put it in, and then when we do the half salt, it's just half salt in there. And how that started down at 50th and Leavenworth, our first store is just a few blocks from the med center. That third month, we had doctors come in and said, "Hey, we want our patients, our heart patients, to eat your popcorn instead of going home eating chips.
Right.
Can you do it with a little less salt?"
That's how
Well,
it
I don't know. They'll try half salt. So we'd write right on the bag, half salt, and they'd be sending their patients out.
Wow.
Then they said, that corn oil, it's really the best.
Okay.
It's better than the coconut oil and
did not know that either.
sunflower oil and all
Okay.
that. And it's healthier than the others. But anyway, they said, is there any way you could do with a little less? So we experimented. This is before the diet pop and all that. We're talking the early 80s.
Oh, wow.
See, before all of
Way
that.
back.
We didn't know any different. And so we experimented, and so we came up with a third less oil and half salt. We'd write right on the bags. And now it's just light half salt. It's what we
Okay.
call it. But we sell a boatload of that
Wow.
stuff.
This is
Anyway,
very-
that's kind of how
Fine.
we evolved
Very
into
good, very
that.
good.
And you just go into what the customers are asking for, and then
Go from there.
You bet.
I mean, I was going to ask you a different kind of question. What advice would you offer the viewers of people about living your dream? In other words, the vignettes that you've shared with us briefly here has a repertoire, a lot of information in it packed, and we're not able to deal with all of it. But what are some things you would offer to people who are watching this program? How you evolve, and again, how you living your dream or your experiences and where you're at?
And the number one thing, the key factor to it all the way across the board, you have to believe in yourself. You got to. That's it. No matter what's going on around you, how much doubt people are trying to put in your head, all of that, just forget it. You got to believe in yourself. And that goes with God. I mean, because God is in store in that with you. If you got believe in the person, you believe in yourself. That's God within you. You believe in yourself. That power within you. And it starts there. It's a lot of times, like when I said I started the paper with $13, odds against me in the wintertime with no car. And then it takes me a week to write the paper, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it next, but I'm going to finish this paper. And then I got the paper done and writing the whole paper. and don't know what to do about, but believing in myself
Right,
and
there
the
you go.
work.
There
You
you
got
go.
to do that. You got to do
By
it
the way,
yourself.
how would someone, and this is one of the questions I was going to ask you, if somebody wanted to contact either one of you or follow up, because again, when we put stuff on our website in different places, Facebook Live, you name it, all kinds of folks see it across the country. How do they catch up with either one of you or both of you if they want to engage you in a conversation similar to this?
Well, we have a website, Vic's Popcorn Omaha.
Oh, that's how you catch up? Okay,
Oh,
gotcha.
yeah, and if you just type in computer Vic's Popcorn, that'll come up and so on, and that's easy way, and our email addresses, everything's on there, and phone number and all that stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
So, yeah, you can call our storage rent. We don't have one of those lines where you have to wait and go through 8 things and then punch 4 and then you go to another one. You'll get somebody, well, if we're open, you know.
Good.
But yeah, that's the easiest way. And I like to meet people and talk with them instead of just sit and talk on the phone. I think that's a whole lot better, just to meet them face to face, and you can sit down and really talk and
Right.
and get the answers you're looking for.
There you go. The honest, and I'm going to ask the same question.
The same thing, Heartland News. And I think the coolest thing is, I enjoy when I meet people, I'm signing autographs, taking pictures. But this is the most important book I've ever written, have published, because it's just super cool. Yeah, it's just super cool when the two of us is doing it. I mean, it's like the book side. I mean, it's a real Vic. It's
Right,
like,
right.
Yeah, which really bothers me. I'm just kind of, well, it's just a
81
regular
years.
guy, you know.
81 years and nobody knew it.
Oh, you're 81, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
turned 81 3 weeks ago or so.
Wow, good for you.
Well, yeah, I like having birthdays.
You're the rest of us who walk
Yeah.
around.
At the first book signing, it was so much fun. I was telling Vic, I said, everyone's looking at like it was God first, then Michael Jackson, then Vic.
That's funny.
So, but I enjoy this more so than I think ever, because it's like it was just, you know, the way we met. The book actually described us. I mean, I'm not bag when the community didn't have gave me any kind of consideration or anything, and Vic did.
Okay.
Just in the parking lot, man didn't even know him, but he gave me the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
I didn't know him better.
With people that knew me for years, some of the people I gave their kids their first jobs.
Right.
I mean, that meant a lot. Your kid was too young to work, and I gave him a job. I took a chance with your kid, and you couldn't give me the benefit of the
Right.
doubt.
I understand that. That's
That hurt. So
people have struggled.
You know, you got to show some of the illustrations, you know, are, my God, they're really good. And it's just interesting that, you know, it's very professional, well done. And,
right.
And just kind of a fun book to go through. I've gone through it our grandkids are all older, but we've got a couple of younger ones, kind of, you know, but I've gone through it. They get a kick out of it,
Right.
you know. And of course they think that's grandpa, you know, or something.
they really love it, though.
Oh, yeah.
But I tell you something that was more, that was just as important as us meeting. When I came with the ideal for Vic, he didn't know me that well at all. Plus the paper, all the negative talk.
Mm-hmm.
The man put from day one. It's not only did he give me benefit of the doubt, the trust.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a question about this, and then I would do this. I was find an illustrator. He says, "Well, how much did it cost?" And I tell him, and he, you know, hired an illustrator.
Oh, so he helped you out
And
financially.
he trusted me.
Okay,
He
gotcha.
trusted me.
Gotcha. Really appreciate to hear that.
From day one, and I appreciate that. From day one,
To
just
get you up on your feet and running with
yeah.
it. So.
He said, just listen. I don't want the small talk. Just tell me how much it's going to cost to do this, this, and that, and how much I got to put out.
And how many do we have to sell then to
Yeah, get the money back.
Right.
And that's
No,
what I
it-
did. You know,
Yeah,
it
you
meant
know,
a lot.
yeah,
It meant a lot.
Interesting. I don't care about backgrounds or
Right.
that kind
No, I
of
understand.
stuff.
I'm hearing you. I'm
You know,
listening. I'm
it's
hearing you.
you know, we have a great relationship, and that's what I like.
Good.
You
Got
know.
that. We're at the very end. I want to give both of you, each one of you, a chance for closing comments. Closing comments for our viewing audience out there. Anything you want to share with
I
them?
appreciate the opportunity to just sit and chat a little bit like this and talk about our book. You know,
Okay.
I've never had a book written about me. But, you know, I did write a dissertation, but nobody read that. You know. But yeah, it is. It's kind of neat, and it's fun to show people, and I just appreciate. You know, I've really appreciated the process from last summer to now.
Okay, that's been a year.
How we've developed this relationship and where it's going.
Good, excellent.
I'm just excited about where it is going.
Yeah.
And I think that book is gonna. I plan on getting the Writer of the Year award. I'm not just talking. I plan on getting I got more books coming out, and this was gonna put me on the top. 2024, you're gonna hear more about me as a writer and that particular book because it's just perfect. The illustration, the real Vic, eight syllables every sentence. I mean, it was a lot of thought put in the book. So.
Well, I appreciate both of y'all being here today, YAH and Vic Larson, who's been able to take away from their busy schedule to let us do this program for more moving them off of race equity. And we hope to at some point do some other interviews and things about some of your life experience, because one of the things that we're concerned about in our community is that we got to bring the world together, and we have to talk about race issues, social justice, and those issues that sometimes divide us. We can have great relationships come out of that. So we appreciate you watching this, and join us again for another edition down the road of Throwing Down Some Heavy Light. I'm Jamal Binding. Thank you, as we always end, Baroque, and may the force be with you.